Well, welcome. Thank you for being here. We're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to share a talk I did at the Women Talk Calgary event here, and the theme was The Women I Carry Forward. I thought it'd be really nice to share this with you on today's Women International Day. And like usual, I'm not professional. You get a lot of ums and not too sure. That's just how my dyslexic brain works, and I get stuck on words. And my video setup is not that professional, and it's a little fuzzy. Someone help me out with that. But here we go. We'll just continue on. So this talk honors Lineage and the women whose lives made our own possible. And I'm going to share a talk about my grandma, my mom's mom, a woman who embodied quiet strength, devotion, and deep presence. And I'm going to share how her life shaped the way I understand what it means to live fully in my body. And through her, I sit here in freedom and in power, and carrying her wisdom forward. And I carry her wisdom forward in just how I live and what I teach, truly. So, yeah, let's begin. We are here, we are here. All manner of good things will come to us now. And again, I am truly honored to be here, and I'm really honored that you are here choosing to listen to me, to witness, and to share space with me. And I find that whenever women and men who are here to listen to women's stories, when we gather with that intention, something ancient stirs. It's magic. So most of my work is with women, holding a space, listening to stories, remembering what has been forgotten. And today just feels like an extension of that work. This talk feels like that extension. And I'm going to be talking about my grandma. She is a woman I carry forward. She is not just part of my story, she is the doorway into it. Through her strength, I have found my voice. Through her presence, I learned what power feels like in a body. She embodied something I now understand as matriarchy. A quiet strength that does not need to dominate. A steady presence that does not need to be loud, to be powerful. She was fire and water in balance. Firm, but loving. Strong, but soft. And before I speak about lineage and liberation, I want you to know her. My grandma was a woman of quiet strength. Ollie Fay Brown. And she was one of 7 children, 5 girls and 2 boys. Only 6 survived into adulthood. Her sister Bernice, she's a year older than my grandma, and she died in a very tragic accident when she was 4 and my grandma was 3. And my grandma later gave my mom, Sheila, she gave her middle name, Bernice, as her middle name. Just a beautiful, quiet honoring of her sister she lost. My mom often felt that this loss marked my grandma in ways that shaped who she became, a steady, nurturing, and deeply present. My grandma poured herself into raising her 12 children. Yes, you heard that right. She had 12 children. And she seldom left home, but who had time? So my mom always said she could always count on finding her there, at home, steady, and present. My grandma, she was like a tree with deep roots, quiet wisdom, nourishing, a beautiful, steady presence. She was the best cook. My dad loved her cooking. I think he's joked before that he only married my mom because of my grandma's cooking. My mom's a great cook too, though. My grandma was the best listener. She never drank. She never smoked. She never learned to ride a bike or drive a car. And when I reflect on her life, it struck me that something that feels very rare now, that she just seemed very content. She wasn't chasing anything, not status, not travel, not the next shiny thing. And in a world where so many of us are reaching for more, posting, here I'm posting, proving, striving, she simply was. Her home was humble. My grandparents, they didn't have much money, and who would with 12 children? It was a small house, but never felt small. It was bursting with life. Family members came and went. If someone needed a place, there was always room. And what they had, they shared. She never seemed to need more than what was already around her. She never wore makeup. She was soft-bodied, fully herself. She accepted who she was. She didn't diet. She didn't try to reshape herself to fit something outside of her. It was as if she quietly said, "I am here and I am enough." She did not need to fill space with anything else. She was whole within herself, steady, content, and rooted. She was also a descendant of enslaved people. She came from a lineage that endured unimaginable rupture, bodies owned, families torn apart, dignity stripped. And then she lived her life as a Black woman in Alberta, in communities that were predominantly white, where she would have been seen as different before she was ever known. And I can only imagine the quiet strength that required, the glances, the assumptions, the subtle and not so subtle ways the world can remind you that you are not the majority. And yet, she did not let those things define her. She did not become hardened. She did not chase approval. She rooted. She built a home that was warm and open. She created belonging inside her own walls. She chose contentment over comparison, dignity over bitterness. Not because the world was easy, oh no, but because she decided who she would be inside of it. History did not live in the books for her. It lived in her body, in her hands, in her posture, in the way she moved through the world. And this is what I've come to understand. Lineage does not just live in stories. It lives in our nervous systems. It lives in how we respond. It lives in what feels safe. And it feels in what it lives in what feels possible. The steadiness she carried, that quiet power, it did not grow in ease. It grew in survival. It grew in endurance. And somehow through all of it, it grew into gentleness. And in the way she lived, she taught me something I am still learning. That being human is enough. Not perfect, not impressive, and not constantly proving, just present. And in a world that now measures worth in likes and noise and visibility, she lived quietly anchored in who she was. She did not need approval to feel whole or to feed her. She did not need attention to feel valuable. She showed me that there is power in being deeply rooted in yourself. And that I'm still practicing. I'm getting there. My grandma was not loud power. She was a steady power. Yeah. She did not dominate a room, she anchored it. She could be firm without shaming you. She could correct you without making you feel small. She could hold space in a way that made you feel safe, even when you were uncomfortable. She was fire and water and balance. And yes, this can be a thing. There was a depth in her, a wisdom that did not need to announce itself. I did not have a language for it when I was young, but I felt it. Oh, you could feel it. Oh, it felt like home. She showed me that power does not have to be sharp. It does not have to be aggressive, and it does not need to overpower. And that makes me realize something. The world may not always be easy, but we still get to choose. We get to choose who we are inside of it. Power can be loving, power can be rooted, and power can be embodied. And because of her, I learned that strength and softness are not opposites, but they are partners. And yeah, because when I reflect on her life, I realize something. The steadiness she carried, the dignity, the quiet power, it did not grow in ease. And that makes me look at the world we live in now. We still live in a world where women's voices are often dismissed, where women go to doctors and are told, nope, that's not happening. What you're experiencing and feeling is not happening. Where women speak their truth and are labeled dramatic, where women report violations and are not believed, where women in religion find half their story erased. And yet, we are still here. We are still gathering, still telling stories, still remembering what was forgotten. And every time we do, that is a choice. A choice to speak, a choice to show up, a choice to refuse shrinking. The fact that we are here together, I am here speaking freely, is not accidental. No. It is the result of generations of women who endured things we may never fully understand. Some of the freedom we walk in today was paid for by women who never got to experience it. And that humbles me, because where I stand, I'm not standing alone. My grandmother stands with me, and so do hers. And it was in this remembering that I had an experience in a meditation. And for me, meditation is magic, and it's where the veil thins. It is where memory and spirit and psyche meet. And in this particular journey, my grandma Brown, yes, her last name, Brown. I laugh now that I've married a white and that I am of both. Okay, I digress. Anyways, in this particular journey, my grandma showed up and she met me in my vision. And she took me by her hand and she gestured for me to come and took me by my hand, and we began walking together backwards through time, through our lineage. And as we walked, we gathered women, family, mothers, aunties, daughters, cousins, women working in the fields, women in plantation homes, women whose backs bent under the weight, women who endured. They dropped what they were doing, whatever they're doing in the fields or in the houses, dropping the laundry, the cooking, and they followed us. And we made our way across the Atlantic back to Africa, back to the motherland. And there we found ourselves beneath a sacred tree. and we gathered and we began to cry. Not polite tears, it was a wailing, it was a grieving. It was a pounding of the earth. We were releasing pain. We were releasing shame. We were releasing sorrow. And the earth, our beautiful earth, she devoured it. She held it. And she transformed it. And something shifted. The crying turned to laughter. The wailing turned to dancing. And we embraced and we celebrated and we rejoiced. And then it was time to return. Each grandmother, auntie, daughter, cousin, we went back to where we had found them. My grandmother led us back, and they went back to where we found them in the fields or in the houses, but they stood taller. They were not the same. They shone brighter, and they claimed something back. And when I returned to where my grandmother had first met me, she held my face in her hands, and she said, "You did good." And that blessing went somewhere deep within me. And it wasn't much long after that meditation I had another vision. And it was actually the same retreat that I was at where we were doing these meditations, and we went into another journey, and instantly my grandmother and all those aunties and cousins all were there with me in that room, and they surrounded me. And they began pouring liquid gold over my head. It ran down my body and it filled every space. And then they started pouring that gold into my mouth. They opened my mouth and that gold filled me from the inside. And in that moment, I was reminded of this Japanese art, kintsugi. And this practice is of repairing broken pottery with gold. The cracks are not hidden, they are illuminated. And the breaks become part of the beauty. And I realized this gold was not covering over pain, it was honoring it. Every rupture, every loss, and every survival, everything my sisters, my grandmothers, my aunties had endured. Nothing was erased. Nothing was wasted. It was all being gathered back into wholeness. And they stepped back after I was covered and filled with gold. And they all stepped back and said to me, "You are free." And then they began to dance and shout, and they rejoiced. We are free. And in that moment, a vision of my daughter went across the sky, and they pointed to her and said, "She is free. Be free, child. You are released as I am released." Whew, that was a powerful vision for me. Now, whether you believe in visions or not, that is not the point. The point is this: every single one of us carries women behind us. Grandmothers, mothers, ancestors, women who survived, women who dreamed, women who endured things so that we could have a different life. And some of our healing is not just personal, it's generational. When we go to therapy, when we say no, when we leave something that harms us, when we speak up, when we rest, when we love ourselves fully, we are not just changing our lives, we are altering a lineage. And we are handing something different forward. Liberation is not just personal, it's generational. So, yeah, breathe that in and breathe that out. I would love to invite you into something very simple just for a moment. And if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes or just soften your gaze. And I invite you to take a breath, a deep breath in and exhale. And just feel your feet on the floor. And imagine, visualize, dream behind you, not in a dramatic way, but a gentle way. Imagine a line of women. You don't have to know their names. You don't have to know their stories. Just a sense that they exist. Maybe it's your grandmother. Maybe it's someone further back. Maybe it's a woman whose name was lost. Just feel them standing behind you. Sense it, feel it. Now imagine one of them stepping forward, just one. What was her life like? What did she endure? What did she long for that she never received? Now feel this. Because of her life, you are here. Because she survived, you exist. Take one more breath in and imagine her placing her hands on your shoulders, not with pressure, with blessing. What might she want for you? More silence or more voice? More obedience or more freedom? More shrinking or more expansion? Somewhere behind you, a grandmother is whispering, "Be free, child." Take that in, breathing it in, and breathe that out. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. Thank you. You see, history is not something that lives only in textbooks or monuments. It lives in our nervous systems, in our patterns, in the way we love and the way we fear, and the way we stand up, and the way we soften. The women before us are not distant figures. They are present in our courage, present in our boundaries, present in the moments we choose differently. Sometimes I think about the things my grandma never had, the freedom she didn't get to experience, the ease she never knew. And I realize that when I speak so freely, when I gather women, when I live boldly in my body, I am not just living for myself. I am finishing sentences she was never allowed to complete. And maybe you are too. We are not separate from history, we are a continuation. We are the living edge of our lineage, the bridge between what was, and what will be. And the way we live matters, the way we love matters, and the way we hold power matters. My grandma taught me that fire and water must live together. Fire, our voice, our clarity, our boundaries, and water is our compassion, our softness, and our depth. And when those two are in balance, that is matriarchal power. Not hierarchy, not domination, but community. Embodied love, steady presence. That is what I try to teach in my circles, and that is what I try to live by. And that is what I choose to carry forward. Not perfection, not performance, but presence. I carry my grandma forward every time I hold space for a woman without making her small. Every time I choose love over ego. Every time I refuse to silence myself. Every time I choose to live free. Not just for me, but for the daughters watching. And I want to leave you with this. Who do you carry forward? What strength lives in your bones? What freedom are you claiming? Not just for yourself, but for the ones who have come after you. Because somewhere a grandmother is whispering over you too. You did good. You are free. You are released as I am released. So be it. And so it is. Thank you for joining me, my magical friends. Blessed be. Mwah.